Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the stream. I am Razim, as the professor currently, and we're doing some Timberborn. Now you can go ahead and say what you were going to say, Taldarius.
Start.
Yep. Okay. I got Timber fully ported over, and then both Tanya and Toshi have their characters almost fully ported. They just got to get back to me on like some traits and feats.
Did you get them all set up in Fantasy Grounds?
No, I was basically just teaching them how Pathfinder how Pathfinder character creation works. Here's what all of your abilities will do. Here's what we're porting over from 5e, yada yada. I'll be doing the same thing with you. And on your sheet there will be an area labeled otherworldly abilities where it's just the stuff being ported from 5e.
Okay.
Okay.
There's also going to be a whole scene where you guys are going to get to see a whole bunch of alternate different reality versions of you, each other, yourself, before we land in, the new system.
Oh,
Sounds
God,
fun.
no. I'm
Oh,
terrible to
it
look
is-
at.
It is going to be very fun, especially when I get to reference like previous versions of Timber and Tanya's character, Rose, and all that.
I'm assuming you're utilizing Greaves for this.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a full thing.
Yeah. Greaves is very purpose-built for this sort of thing. So Endo, after all of the nonsense with wizards and D&D, we have decided to, well, I guess mostly me, but I don't want to support wizards anymore after they're pulling this. Even if they back out, how long before they try it again?
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, this is their second chance already.
Yeah.
This is their second chance already after 4E and the GSL.
Yeah. So
Fine.
I'm done. We're not gonna have D&D content anymore on the channel. With Taldarius's game, at least, it's not that big of a hindrance because, Taldarius knows Pathfinder better than he knows 5e anyways. And there's also the fact that his story is unique and custom, so we're not pulling from existing lore and such. However, the Guild Tales game, unfortunately, will need to come to an end because that one is set in the Magic the Gathering universe, which, of course, is owned by Wizards as well. So, yeah. We're going to be bringing Guild Tales to an end and starting a new campaign there. It's not a great situation, but
What can you do?
Sound fun. At all.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah,
I'm back
and
after
so-
conversation.
welcome back.
Hi, Arzi. But yeah, so it is a whole thing where I am not happy with the situation because I just got everything the way that I liked it. Because I've been doing a lot of work in the background with balancing the enemies and factions and all the custom built stuff that I've been making so that way it all plays out properly. And I was doing like test scenarios where I would take like, the various characters and see like via test rolls and like, if they do this, can they make it through it? And the answer was increasingly it's all going out how like I wanted it to, with like the various stats and abilities when properly utilized. And then now I have to rework all of it. So I'm not the happiest about it, but it's gonna happen and we're gonna get through it.
I am sorry for that. It's a sucky situation all around.
Yeah. But hey, at least you don't have to worry about helping move the players over.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of all that.
Good night, Corbin.
But yeah. So I'm not getting anything set up in Fantasy Grounds right now. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm talking through the various people of, like, how it all works. And then I'm giving them a mock-up character sheet off of Mythweavers. Because Mythweavers has a lot of, like, the autofill stuff, so it makes it easy on people, especially, like, when I, go through the character creation process, streaming my screen, explaining everything, going over their various new abilities, reading it out for them, all that sort of stuff. So it's just like, it's sort of like eases the pain of having to get used to an entirely new different character sheet. And even as a part of, like, the port over, like, obviously there's a big difference between the Pathfinder Barbarian and the 5e Barbarian, especially relating to the AC that you have when unarmored. So, like, literally as a part of the universe switch and system switch, like, in the scene, like, Gar's gonna come out of it with armor of his choice. Because in Pathfinder, you don't get an AC bonus from not having armor as a barbarian. So if I, like, forced him to literally 1-to-1, he would come out into the Pathfinder universe, which is a much deadlier universe, in my opinion at least, with no AC. So that ain't gonna happen. Instead, when it swaps, he's gonna get armor of his choice. He went with the lighter side of armor because he wanted to keep his speed and not have a heavy armor check penalty, but, that was up to him.
Yeah.
And then, like, to use Timber as an example. Like, he's going to keep his defensive fighting style, his old shield master, his Ore of Conquest, but then he also has to follow the tenets. Yeah, so they can take on archetypes. They can. But the other thing is that some of these people are very new to Pathfinder and have never played Pathfinder before. So I was just going through all the standard basic stuff with them. And I showed them the various list of archetypes. I told them that it exists and that, the onus is on them if they want to do that, or if they just want to use the standard class and then just talk with me to get all the stuff from their old character they want over.
I just would be very careful about that.
Now, you see, I would be. And I am being careful about it, but the thing is, I'm not using too many standard monsters anyways. I was already homebrewing a lot of the difficulty related to the, difficulty related to the encounters and the various things that were upcoming. They're all custom made anyways. So I know what the characters can do. I know how they interact. And so I know, like, if the thing that I'm making is going to be balanced or not. It's the sort of thing where it's,
I'm meaning for
like
the other...
Yeah.
I'm meaning for the player abilities. Because we could wind up accidentally crossing into the realm of something that is still owned by wizards.
Like, oh yeah, no, they aren't getting
still...
the actual names.
Okay.
They're getting... It's going to be different names.
Okay.
But it's going to have very familiar effects. Like, for example, like, because obviously, like, I'm porting it over. So, like, one thing that Rose is getting as a character is that instead of, like, undead thralls, like, letting them target another body when they raise or, like, reassert, instead it just raises 1 to their HD cap of resurrecting undead for Pathfinder.
Okay.
And Enderalis, that is actually what I was doing. I'm literally, like, I was sitting in a VC with players for, like, 6 hours today, just going over all the stuff that they wanted. and helping them like get as close as possible. And you know, since we're moving to Pathfinder, one thing that I get to really do now that I was considering doing for the 5e game already was introduce trait gainage for good roleplay or actions. So one way that I'm going to be rewarding my players going forward is by the gainage of traits. Because this is already a game where the power scaling is going to be ridiculous compared to standard, because already if they climb a tower, they can just choose a feat. Or, you know, like all that sort of stuff. And they're going to have extra abilities than where they should for Pathfinder. So what do I care about the real balance of it? Let's have some fun. Let's give the characters some traits if they want traits. Yeah, Ender Alice, I'm doing that too. Because the thing is, it's like, you know, let's have some fun here. We're already doing a, like, you know, it's already effectively a heroic level campaign. The characters are literally completing challenges laid forth by the gods themselves. So I see no reason to not, like, you know, give traits to the players.
What you're saying is we could go mythic levels.
You could. You know,
That's a
in the
start.
future, not right now.
You tried.
I'm not letting you just jump there. I'm just not letting you jump there. But, you know, eventually. Right now, the power gainage you're going to get is in traits, which are like half feats.
It was worth a shot.
I can't fault you for trying.
Yes, I know that Mythic is like epic levels. And in the future, yes, it will come up, but definitely not right now. I plan on this game lasting a good while.
That is fair. Where the hell are these beavers going? I have 3 beavers that have apparently decided to just leave or something.
I am watching them waddle.
Okay, I thought they were coming over. Where are you going?
Waddle, waddle. Waddle, waddle, waddle.
Evening.
Are you really going to go all the way up and around and down again? Why did you...
Alkane, this game is played on Sundays. If you check the schedule in Zim's description, you can find the, you know...
It is
you can
Ascent
find
to Ascend.
the schedule there. Yep, it is Ascent to Ascend, which is played on Sundays. Just so you know, right now, currently, because of the short time frame, like before the swap, there is... Next session is not going to be in Pathfinder yet.
Yeah. I will say that with all of this, we do have to move quickly, but we're still gonna take our time to make sure that it is, you know, well done.
Yeah. Now, I'm putting in a lot of work to this, and I'm hoping to get it by the start of the session after this. But if that doesn't happen, I'm not going to rush it. Like, for example, this got mentioned earlier when I hopped in, like, super quick. But, Zim's character is homebrew. Like, class-wise. So, being able to make a Pathfinder equivalent or shift over the numbers and the abilities to being Pathfinder.
There is a Mystic class in Pathfinder. There's I don't know if it's actually called Mystic, but I do know there are psionics. So for me, I was just planning to just use the Pathfinder psionic stuff.
So there is a Mystic class, but I want you to be careful with that because it's actually more of like it's actually a martial class.
These are things like I was going to look into before deciding what to go with. I just haven't sat down to do that yet.
Yeah, so the Mystic class in Pathfinder is actually martial. It's a maneuver class, if you know what that means.
Oh, right. It's a Path of War one.
Yeah. And yeah,
I've
so
played it before.
but yeah, Endoralis, I do plan on. So the thing is that they are a when Wizards tried to put psionics in 5e, basically what happened is Reddit took it and like tried to fix it up and make it work with 5e, but it's kind of, it's mostly analogous with the Scion class from Pathfinder, but there's also like a lot more shit that isn't compatible. So there's going to be a lot of work that needs to go into at least giving analogs to current abilities with stuff that's actually in Pathfinder, and then taking everything else and trying to find a way to at least give some of it over to Zim to play with. Because I'm trying to make the characters as similar as possible to their current state to, like, you know, avoid confusion, avoid, like, you know, saying that you're going to do something and, like, you know, forgetting that you had that in the past, but you don't have that now. I want to try to minimize that stuff as much as I can.
Yes, Evie,
Frost
Lisa, they
Husky, that's
were
known as
walking in
Pathfinder.
water. Yeah, Pathfinder.
That was literally what Pathfinder is.
When Furry came out and everybody hated it and it's piecing off of content and stuff, some of the community got
GSL.
together. I don't know anything about the GSL.
Basically the same thing as the current stuff, but not retroactive.
Ah. Yeah, Pathfinder is basically D&D 3.75. I do have concerns.
To be fair, that's
Wizards.
been the community joke for a long time.
Yeah. I do have concerns about Wizards going after Pathfinder, but at least Paizo just has to put out the call, and people are going to flock to defend them and help them out. Literally, they can get away with one heck of a fundraising campaign.
Oh, yeah. Gondor calls for aid.
Exactly.
But, yeah, Endoralis, just to like let you know, it is super close to the Pathfinder Scion. It's just, I have to like go through and trawl through the different powers and consider the various, like, you know, do they have the option that they already had here currently if we move to Pathfinder? Outcane, basically there are a bunch of towers scattered around the world where if you climb them, it is a god's tower, and they will grant you a boon. Something like a feat, something like knowledge, something like you get a question answered. Those sort of things. And then, you know, so like obviously as the campaign continues, the characters are going to get like more and more powerful. They'll get more and more feats, traits, abilities, all that sort of stuff, with the goal of eventually achieving apotheosis by climbing every tower. But there are a bunch of disparate rival political factions that do not want people to just climb the towers. Because, you know, if everyone can just climb the towers, then their faction won't be powerful by having a bunch of towers. So, Yeah, Enderal. So eventually they do get mythic, which is why I was like, yeah, eventually you'll get mythic. I am not too worried about the power balance of this game because I'm not just using the standardly provided enemies, monsters, groupings. I'm customizing all of this for my players. I don't want them to be like, I don't want them to feel like they can't do anything. I don't want them to feel like if they walk into any situation, they can just win.
Joke.
What I want is for them to feel like they are between rock and a hard place and they have the boulder punching powers of Leon.
Wait, you mean we're gonna have a fantastic champion time?
Yeah, I know, right?
Exactly.
Yay!
I totally won't kill half the party at various points and then, like, they have revives. They have revive mechanics. Who cares?
You're right. Wait, what?
Oh, it was Chris. Yeah, fuck. Ah, god damn it. This is what I get for talking at like 3:30 a.m.
You're speaking really fast too. I will be honest.
Yeah, I know. It's because I'm always excited to talk about my world.
Okay.
I suppose you should be.
I feel that, Taldaris. Or Taldaris.
Like, in case you can't tell, I am a very passionate man about things I create. And I may not have created the original concept, but damn if I haven't filled in the rest. But yeah, like I was saying, like, I really want to put my players into, like, tough situations, but, like, where their actions will have a tangible effect on the outcome, so they don't feel like they're powerless.
I see.
Because I completely fully plan on there just being a bunch of stuff where it could be deadly. And, if it turns out bad for the party, I will kill off the party.
Taldarius was basically handed the reins. He is now the 4th DM of this campaign, 7th DM for this group as a whole. And yeah.
And long may I reign.
Yes, long may you reign. I am tired of switching DMs. The group
Those are
has fantastic dynamics. We're just a bit much for most DMs, it seems.
Long lived Taldarius the Seventh.
See, whenever I need to take my players down a few pegs, I just drop a nuke on them.
I'm sorry, you dropped a nuke on That's a nuke.
I mean, why you drop a nuke? You just need to play the StarCraft 1 nuclear launch detected. It's fine.
I mean, that's basically what I do, and they're just like, I had one player that's like, I'm gonna try to roll against it. I was like, it's a nuke. Your armor save's not gonna stop a nuke.
Nevis parries.
Endoralis. So the thing is that this is not originally a game that's been run in Pathfinder. It's been a 5e game.
Yarn! It's 125!
Yes, it is.
You know, it's funny that you say I parry, that you say Nevis would parry it, because I actually had a character, Jack Ward, did take an orbital strike to the face and lived. I don't know how, but he took it to the face.
But yeah, so I am obviously, like, I'm really amped up to be able to, like, tell the story that I've devised here, and seeing just how my players are going to absolutely, completely ruin the world. I know you guys will.
I mean, I'm personally looking forward to when they mess the world up so much that it's like indistinguishable from Pokemon, just in concepts alone. They're just going into the world. They are just capturing monsters into like little containment fields, and they are just battling them for their own amusement.
So
Oh,
it
Lord.
turns out that Ascent to Ascend is actually the precursor to Starlight Expeditions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe, totally.
Also,
I don't know.
Alkane, I actually had a character once that had 128 intelligence modifier. Just think about the Saver Suck spells under that.
What the fuck? What were they playing? Some sort of dragon?
Specifically, I was playing an extremely greedy dwarf, and my DM ended up going Fafnir on me. Things
So
spiraled out of control from there.
So you became a dragon, right?
Yeah, Fafnir.
Lovely. I am happy with this.
This is an acceptable reason. Yeah, I basically went around Saver sucking anything that tried to even approach me. Eventually, because like basically the rule was, so long as I was near my horde, I would get benefits from being the horde because, you know, the whole Fafnir greed thing. So I literally had the horde turned into an armor that would constantly be around my body that could absorb new stuff as it came in. Enderels, there is no technical way unless you get really crazy with spellcrafting. Because technically, with spellcrafting, you can do whatever the hell you want.
It's just a matter of will your DM allow it?
Yeah.
Row.
So there is always a technical way to get it. I just never said it was repeatable.
All this talk about DMing really makes me want to get back into running another Invicta campaign.
I need more time in the world.
But, Enderalis, technically speaking, so long as you continually do things that reduce the complexity, you can make stuff even more complex. So, you know, stuff like that. It's, and like, even in that section, it even says repeatedly, like, with GM permission. So long as you get permission from the DM, you get to do anything with spellcraft, basically.
You mean the GM?
Yeah, whatever. DM, GM, whatever.
They're all the same thing. Don't you dare claim copyright on something.
Well, Panth, I know at least 2 people here in this call that might be interested in a Sailor Moon tabletop game.
Were you about to say TF?
No.
They look, it's an established part of lore though in Sailor Moon.
Yes. Sailor Moon transformation to dragon. I'm happy. Thank you.
Actually, the only reason we didn't do it tonight is because Rygone's swamped with work.
Yeah.
So...
Otherwise, I would
hopefully-
have tuned in while I was doing the character creation.
And yeah, like honestly, from my perspective as a player, I'd rather all you beans take care of the IRL stuff that allows you to support the awesome campaigns rather than try to squeeze something in on top of a busy schedule and, potentially
Exactly.
not be able to run the campaigns.
Yes. I do, in fact, prioritize my IRL stuff.
And unfortunately, it's just being compounded because we had the holidays, plus a little bit of burnout, plus some IRL stuff. So it's an unfortunate break, but all very valid reasons.
Yep.
Me. Yeah, it seems like the new thing, though, at least for Sim, is me reading chapters, reading books,
Bedtime stories.
bedtime stories.
Hmm.
Bedtime stories?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of book reading. People seem to like it.
You do have a very good storyteller voice.
Oh, thank you.
Now we just gotta wait for the inevitable Starlight Expedition, fanfic story, and we just have Rygone read that live on stream.
With the
Oh.
misspellings
Oh
and
god,
everything.
don't encourage people.
Oh
encourage
Lord,
people.
no,
Well,
God.
if
Oh,
whatever they
no.
do, they better write it well, because if not, I'm going to be pronouncing all the misspellings.
And then so
Now,
And
Ragnar,
so-
now you're taunting me to do it.
Endo,
I
And
just
just had
do
to-
just do exclamation point social in the chat to find it.
Hey, as long as it doesn't break terms of service.
He has a point.
Hey, I write genfic. Don't you dare.
I wasn't calling out anyone in particular. I was just saying, hey, if there's anyone who wanted to do that kind of thing, just
What am I here then?
make sure it is within terms of service.
You
And the service better be ready for me.
Serve your terms.
He said that in a threatening way.
Good, it was done in a threatening
Don't
manner.
you mean service your terms, uwu?
Or
What?
Something. Dart looks into Amos's
Service.
eyes. Something.
And now we've
Aw,
made him
adorable.
break.
Yep, nope, that broke me because the obvious play people would write would be the Jet Dart interactions, but you know what, I could see someone legitimately going for the Dart Amos interactions just because you have that fire steel type interactions where it's it's a definitely a kind of interaction you don't want to go any deeper, but a little danger.
Oh, it's going deep. Going
Deep
all the way in there.
Yeah. Speaking of readings, though, Zim, did you want me to do anything tonight, or you okay?
I do still want you to read, yeah.
Well, it kind of is up to everybody else. I don't want to be interrupting any conversations.
The only thing I'd be talking about is my world, and in that case, it'd just be story time with me, so it doesn't matter to me.
I'm about to go to bed, so you're free to do whatever.
I miss everything?
I am tired.
What if I make a character whose voice like you?
I don't know how I would feel about that.
They'll
Probably
probably
still
die
not
in the
it.
next sentence. It's Warhammer 40k book, after all. Who knows
Oh,
how long
well.
any of these characters are gonna last?
Oh shit, which one?
15 hours.
See,
Oh, I haven't read that one.
It's good. It's a good one.
Hey, you should
Which
read
one?
Inquisitor. Burn your eyeballs.
Sure. I plan on doing more reading, so feel free to toss them my way. I've already got a bunch
No,
of
you
books.
don't understand. No, don't. I just told you to do the equivalent of reading the literal worst thing possible. Don't do it.
That's the best.
Do not read Inquisitor.
Because I will do it in a serious voice.
No, you don't understand. Like, it would TOS.
That bad?
No, you don't. Here, one second.
Toss me like a paragraph.
Is it just super violent?
Let me check it.
There's a Warhammer story called The Watcher in the Rain, and holy shit, that shit's fucking.
Okay, I grabbed my Book of Inquisitor. I'm finding the passage.
Let's see. Inquisitor. Is it Ravnor?
It's by Ian Watson.
Ian Watson. Oh, I don't have that one in my library.
Don't mind me, everyone. I'm just over here playing with my beavers.
EOS, man.
While getting turned into a Palamute.
And while turning Seda into a beaver.
I
It's-
have ice
That's
cream to
already
share.
happened. It's already happened.
Yeah, now it's happening again. What's your point?
God damn it! I need to finish the contract.
I don't know, man. That just sounds like a personal problem.
Guess what, to people who haven't been here and who don't know what I'm talking about, I finally finished an MHE. It is possible.
Yay!
Yes! Let's go
Yay!
have, let's go out, let's go have ice cream, let's go get cookies.
Now there's just 7 more to go.
Oh no.
All right, well, y'all have a good night. I'm gonna sleep.
Sure
Question.
Good
Rygone,
night.
What's up?
Sleep
what is your
well.
time limit? When must you have these done?
Until I get fired. I don't know, but essentially they got to be done sooner rather than later because I'm holding up the books now. In order for them to close out on the year, these have to be done.
Oh, this is from the oh.
Yeah, so I'm going to say these have to be, at least most of them have to be done by this next week.
Well, you have what, 7 more left, and let's say you get at minimum 1 per day.
I'm going to try and do 2 or 3 tomorrow. Then that'll be
3's
half of
good.
them. Because honestly, they themselves aren't necessarily difficult. It's the assessment and formulation that was difficult, and I've been given some templates to work with, so long as I have my stuff, I should be okay. But the thing is some of these clients did turn in their paperwork. So I have nothing to work with.
Don't worry, I'm finding the passage. It'll wake you up.
Well, it just probably means I need to take my next stimulant.
Wake me up inside.
Wake up.
Wake me up.
Like, you don't
Oh,
understand.
you
Like,
go.
this is straight my immortal quality.
Oh boy.
Zeta, you
If
sung
you-
a different song.
You please, you gotta toss me that paragraph if you can.
No, it's an entire passage, but I'll read you some of it when I find it.
All right.
And damn
I
it,
want
now
to
my
know.
immortal is stuck in my head, and
And
God,
this is a song that never ends.
gosh, my immortal is such a good song.
It is.
Especially the more rock version of it. It's like, oh. It's little musical transitions like that, like even like Chromatica 2 into 911. Like just inject straight into my veins.
All right. Right here is one of the infamous passages in
I-
Inquisitor by Ian Watson.
I would like to remind you, both Rygone and I are streaming.
Yes. This is one of the ones that won't TOS you.
Yay.
Okay.
This is one of the ones that will not TOS you.
Okay.
10-4.
I run towards Carnelian, Melindy related. I run through the gap you blasted in the tentacle. Already the wounds sprout new growth. Each severed section seems alive independently. A few loose slices quiver with intent. As for the atomized material, well, I don't know. That is not ordinary matter. I realize that the substance of the Hydra must be partly normal matter and partly immaterial, partly the stuff of the warp, which was raw chaotic fluid energy, where warp substance flowed into the world daemons could follow presently. He darts away across the wasteland, cloak flapping. I chase. Bold Grim tries to keep up but flounders. How Grim basked in that word bold, not from pride, Jack sensed, but because to utter such a compliment Melindy could not be wholly filled with self-loathing. Carnelian is swift. Follow and find, he hoots. Follow and find, I follow far, exactly in his footsteps in case of some pitfall. Then a nest of tentacles withers from the swarf, trapping my feet in a grip so strong, even as I snatch for weapons, whip tendrils seize my wrists and my neck. I am pulled down, spread out. I will stop reading.
I was just thinking all the entire time is if there was a word I was going to replace in there, it would be his cloak clapped. Because then it makes you think, is it clapping? Or is it clapping?
Oh, funny.
But yeah, I can definitely see why you're kind of a little cringe on it. One, for the judicious usage of tentacle, and two, it kind of
Tentacle
goes a
and
little all over
quiver.
the place.
Yeah, it does. Don't worry, the passage literally only gets worse and worse and worse from there.
Makes me wonder if it's someone's fan fiction.
It is considered the My Immortal of 40k.
Ah.
What does that mean?
He understands.
Never mind. I
I
should never
don't
ask.
understand.
Zim,
But
we
just
can
so
ask
you know-
later after stream.
Just so you know, within this book is a passage which literally talks about different proclivities that weren't even mainstreamly known or popular or even have recorded instances on the internet before this.
Ah.
Jits, you missed me reading off a very small part of a My Immortal, not My Immortal, an Inquisitor by Ian Watson passage.
Yeah, compared to the book we're reading now, our book is practically poetry.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry, the entire thing is absolutely horribly written.
Yay. Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna start shifting gears here so I can start getting on my own reading. We shall go to the chat room. I shall bring up the sounds of war.
Caiaphas Cain.
Oh, shit. Caiaphas Cain. He'd be another fun one to read through.
I'm just watching Zim's chat right now.
I think within the next 15 minutes, I'm gonna plop out of call and start trying to sleep.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It
Rizzy.
is late. I also have a session to do in about 12 to 13 hours.
Nice. I've got one in 4. No, wait, no. Wait. 14? 14
Somewhere
and
around
change.
there.
14 and change.
Yay. Scanlan, that's his name. Not Scanton. And his name is Michelle? Mitchell? Mitchell, not Michael. Damn it, I was so close. Names are the worst. Why do people have to have names? Why can't you all just be identified by smell?
That's how Nim operates. Whenever people call him and are like, "This is Graham or Element," he's like, "Who?" Because he
Alrighty.
can't identify them by smell over the phone.
Mm-hmm. Alright,
Just
who's
imagine
ready?
they identify themselves as smell number 713.
I am ready.
Alright, I shall do some vocal warm-ups, and then we shall get going. What to do to die today? At a minute or two to two. A thing distinctly hard to say, but harder still to do. For they'll beat a tattoo at 20 to 2, a rat-a-tat-tat, tat-tat-tat, tat-tat, tattoo, and a dragon will come when he hears the drum at a minute or two to two today, at a minute or two to two. Sister Susie's sewing shirts for soldiers. Such skill at sewing shirts. My shy young sister Susie shows some soldiers send epistles. What the fuck is that word? Epistles? Better bought her bought some butter, and she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, I will make my batter bitter. So she bought some better butter, put it in her bitter batter, and made her bitter batter better. And last one. Give me the gift of a grip top sock, a clip drape sip shaped tip top sock, not your spin slick slip slapstick slip shod stock, but a plastic elastic grip top sock, none of your fantastic slack swap slop from a slap dash flash cash haberdash shop, not a knick knack knit lock nick need knickerbocker sock with a mock shot blob model trick ticker tocker top clock, not a slip super sear sucker rucksack sock, not a spot speckled frog freckled cheap shake shock off a hodgepodge moss blotch scotch blotch salt block, nothing slipshod drip drop flip flop or glip flop, tip me to a tip top grip top sock. I think I'm warmed up.
I would
think you
hope
are.
so after that.
My verbal warm-up is only Two Tigers Tango in the Twilight till they are Two Tigers Two Tango anymore.
There you go. I like to use different ones because
That's
it
my
forces
verbal
me to
warm-up.
use different it forces me to use different elements of my mouth.
There.
Alrighty, let's go ahead and get this going. I don't need to do that one. Those are important client papers. I don't need to be reading you all off that stuff. Turns out they're probably fucked up. Alright. Welcome back, everyone, to 15 Hours by Mitchell Scanlan. Chapter 8. 1459 hours. Central Busharok time. Casualties of war. Thoughts on the killing of generals. Scholarly answers and insights. On vital supplies and the many and varied uses of prophylactics. The mathematics of slaughter and questions of life expectancy at the front. The facts of life as according to Davir. For once, the printing press was silent. Although Lieutenant Delias had always considered the constant clattering of the machine to be a source of much cursed irritation, now it was idle. He found the sound of its silence filling him with dread. Sitting at his desk in the claustrophobic confines of his cluttered office, He looked across the fractured glass of the top half of the partition wall separating him from the print room and felt his stomach churn in anxiety as he watched the militia auxiliaries who made up his staff go about their labors. The aged caretaker Cern and Votang were busy maintaining the ancient parts of the press itself, Cern oiling the machine's rollers, while Votang topped up the ink reservoir ready for the next edition. Nearby, head bobbing and his face moving in involuntary tics, the feeble-minded Shulin stumbled past them with a broom flailing spasmodically in his hands as he attempted to sweep the floor. Only the compositor Farron was without a task, his features pinched in an expression somewhere between expectancy and annoyance. He stood beside the empty expanse of the typesetting board and gazed back towards Delias through the glass. Then, seeing he had met the lieutenant's eyes, Farron raised a hand to point to the chronometer hanging above the printing press in a gesture of mute accusation. 1,500 hours, Delias thought, his heart sinking in as his eyes followed the direction of Farron's bony finger to glance at the chronometer. We only have an hour now, before I have to deliver the late edition to Commissar Valk for approval. A single hour. I must find something to write. Anything. Despairing, Elias returned his attention to the dozens of official papers piled in confusion across his desk. Among the jumbled mass of documents before him were copies of situations reports, battlefield dispatches, It's not casually, this is a misspelling on their part. Casualty statistics, terse communiques, comms transcripts, between them comprising a record of every event of consequence that had happened in the city of Rosharok in the past 12 hours. Despite what seemed like hours now spent surveying the assembled weight of information before him, Delias had found nothing there to suit his purpose. There is no good news to report, he thought bleakly. Today's the same as every other day. There's only bad news, and I cannot print that. The commissar would have me shot on the spot. As his thoughts drifted back to the day 2 years previously, when he had first heard the news that he was being posted to the imposing edifice of the General Headquarters building in the center of Rock, at first sure he was going to get rewarded with a staff assignment, he had rejoiced. Then, when they brought him to the dingy basement print room to tell him it would be his task to produce a twice-daily newsletter and propaganda sheet for the edification of the city's defenders, his heart had thrilled even more. It had seen the answer to all his prayers, a staff and an office of his own, and more importantly, a prestigious assignment that would keep him far from the fighting. He had soon learned, however, that the lot in life of an official propagandist was rarely a happy one. Even less so when it was his duty to put a brave face to a conflict as prone to sudden reverses and unmitigated disasters as was the war in Brosharok. We are losing this war, he thought, so lost in the depths of his own misery now he was barely aware of any wider implication. We are losing this war. That is the reality, and yet I have barely an hour to find some small piece of good news that would allow the newsletter to pretend otherwise. An hour. It just can't be done. I need more time. Hearing the sound of his office door opening, Delias looked up to see Shulin shuffling through the doorway, mouth working soundlessly, his body twitching with uncontrollable palsies. Shulin tottered towards him with a wastebasket in his hands, the ugly scar left by the orc bullet that had addled his brain clearly visible at his temple. What is it, Shulin? Delias sighed. Cleaning, Shulin said, stammering out a spray of spittle as he stooped to start shoveling the papers littering Delias's desk into the wastebasket. Aggravated for a moment, Delias idly wondered if there was a way of making Shulin bear the blame for his problems. I could tell Commissar Volk that it's all Shulin's fault, he thought, that we were just putting the finishing touches to the latest edition when Shulin blundered into the typesetting board, knocking it to the floor and destroying all of our work. If the Commissar decides to shoot the useless oaf in retribution, I, for one, would not miss him. Just as quickly, he realized for the plan to work, the other members of his staff would have to support his story. Farron and the others would not wear it. They had always protected Shulin, coddling him like some idiot child, and would be sure to oppose any attempt to make him the sacrificial goat. Then, abruptly, Delias caught a glimpse of the words written on one of the crumpled pieces of paper in Shulin's hand, and knew he finally had the answer. Stop that! He snapped at Shulin, reaching out with a metal ruler to rap his knuckles. Leave the wastebasket here, and go tell Farron I will have the copy for tonight's edition ready for him in 15 minutes. 15 minutes, Delias said, retrieving the paper he had seen in Shulin's hand and smoothing out the creases so he could read it. Now get out of my sight. It was a contact report, reporting an orc assault in Sector 113 2.5 hours earlier. What interested Delias more was the attached account of the event that had presaged the assault. A single lander bearing a company's worth of battlefield replacements had crashed in no man's land. Reading it, Delias realized it was exactly what he had been looking for. Granted, the course of events would need a little rewriting. To keep Commissar Volk happy, what had been an entirely futile waste of human life would need to become a resounding victory. All the basic substance of what he needed was there already. He would only have to change the details and the events in Sector 113 to suit his purposes admirably. Yes, this is exactly what I need, Delias thought, quickly running through a series of potential headlines in his mind. Enemy assault defeated by landing from space. A sector-wide breakthrough, orcs retreating in disarray. Then, the hairs rising at the back of his neck, he thought of a new headline, and knew he had cracked it. Orcs defeated in Sector 113. Jumel 14th victorious. Smiling, Delias picked up a stylus and began to write a glowing report of the battle, carefully embroidering the account with a variety of the stock words and phrases he had developed over the years in the course of his duties. Heroic resistance, brave and resolute defense, a triumph of faith and righteous fury over Xeno savagery. Occasionally, as he paused to construct some new sentence full of rhetorical zeal and fire, he felt the vague stirrings of his conscience troubling him, but he ignored it. It was not his fault he was forced to lie and twist the facts, he told himself. The truth was always the first casualty in warfare. As an information officer, sometimes it was his task to be creative. To do otherwise would be to risk offering aid and comfort to the enemy. Yes, it was a matter of duty. And after all, it was important to do everything humanly possible to keep up the morale of the troops. Okay.
Is that the end of the chapter?
No, it is not. I was reading through the next little section here because I was trying to remember which voice I had given this character.
Okay.
A fire, Devere said as he sat in the firing trench. That's what I would like to see. A fire to burn down General Headquarters and torch all of the stupid bastards inside it. If another blaze could somehow be ignited at Sector Command as well, then all the better. It would be that difficult. Give me a grenade launcher and a couple of phosphorus rounds, and I would have both damn places on fire in no time.
Appalled, Larn listened in disbelieving silence. In the last half an hour since they had reached the trench, Devere's constant stream of complaints had slowly given way to extended musings, in which he openly discussed methods of killing the general staff responsible for the progress of the Boucherot campaign. Even more extraordinary to Larn's mind was the fact that the other men in the trench had simply sat there and listened to it, as though it was the most normal thing in the world to talk lightly of mutiny and sedition. As Devere's monologue wore on, Larn found himself with fewer and fewer doubts as to the reasons why the war in the city seemed to be going so badly, if these men represented a representative cross-section of the city's defenders.
Of course, I accept it will be difficult getting close enough to use a grenade launcher,
Devere continued.
What with the security perimeters around both buildings being so heavily patrolled and defended, but I have already foreseen a solution. It is only a matter of time, or a matter of stealing the right credentials, and I can be inside the perimeter and killing the members of the general staff before you could say poetic justice. These men can't be guardsmen, Lon thought as he looked at the faces of the 4 men sitting around him in the trench. Granted, they fought off the orc attack well enough 2 hours ago, but where's their discipline? Their devotion to the Emperor? It is as though all the traditions and regulations of the guard meant nothing to them. How could they just sit here and listen to this man spew treason without taking action? You would never get away with it, Davir, the Vardan sitting opposite Davir said. A tall, thin man in his mid-30s. His name was Scholar, or at least that's what the others called him. Whether it was his profession or a simple nickname, given his stoop-shouldered build and the owlish cast of his face, the name seemed to fit him. I am afraid it is a question of there being major flaws in your modus operandi, Scholar said, fingers playing unconsciously at his chin as though stroking a non-existent beard. Even granting that you managed to obtain the necessary credentials, I doubt the perimeter guards would be willing to stand idly by while you shoot grenades at their generals willy-nilly. There are some rules in the guard against the wasting of ammunition, after all. Perhaps, even if you could somehow elude the guards, you can be sure that the buildings housing General HQ and Sector Command have both been extensively fireproofed. Not to mention equipped with damage control systems, blast shields, extinguishing devices, and so forth. No, Davir, I think you'll have to find some other method of getting your tally. Could they be joking somehow? Lauren thought. Is that it? Is this all some kind of joke intended to do no more than to help them pass the time? But they're talking about murdering officers. How could anyone mistake that for a laughing matter? Then I will simply have to seize control of an artillery battery, Devere said. A few high-explosive rounds aimed at the GHQ building, and I should kill a few generals at least. But you wouldn't want to do that either, the third one, Bulaven said earnestly, a hulking figure with a thick neck, brawny arms, and a broad, bearish build. Bulaven was the fire team's heavy weapons specialist. He also seemed the only man among the group to harbor anything in the way of concern for the lives of his superiors. If you start killing generals, Davir, who would we have left to give us orders? You talk as though that is a bad thing, pig brain, Davir spat. It is thanks to those arseholes in General HQ and their orders that we are in this mess to begin with. Not that I expect us to suddenly start magically winning the war when they are all dead, you understand? Killing them couldn't make it any worse. At least doing it would give me some small moments of satisfaction. Orders? Pah! As though they ever achieved anything with all their damned orders other than making things 10 times worse. You want to know about orders? Ask Rebzig. If it hadn't been for some fool ordering Battery to Command to withhold artillery support during the last attack, he'd probably still be alive. For that matter, what about our new friend here? You all saw what happened to that lander earlier. Ask the new fish if he thinks the orders that sent him halfway across the galaxy just to make landfall on the wrong planet. Abruptly, the other men in the trench turned to look towards him, fully aware that he must have looked like a rabbit caught in the searchlights of an oncoming vehicle. Lauren could only gawk back at them, unsure of what to say. Perhaps you're still in shock, Bulavan said, his tone solicitous. Is that it, new fish? Are you in shock? Wetting his pants in fear, more like, Zebers, the fourth man in the trench, said. Thin and wiry of average build, Zebers looked younger than the others, perhaps in his mid-20s, where Davir and the rest were in their early to mid-30s. Red-haired, with a pitted and pockmarked face, Zebras looked nastily towards Larn and sneered at him. Look at him. If his skin was any grayer, you wouldn't be able to see him against the mud. You ask me? He's afraid if he says what he really thinks, some commissar will hear him and have him shot. Not much to be worried about on that score, Devere said. You hear me, new fish? You can speak freely. Granted, time was we'd always be getting commissars coming to the line to lead attacks and so forth. Thankfully, our friends the orcs soon put pay to that. Any commissar who was crazy enough to want to join a frontline combat unit got himself killed off long ago. The commissars left now tend to be those with a sharper instinct for their own survival, sharp enough to stay away from the front at any rate. So come on, new fish. You must have an opinion. Let us hear it. Yes, indeed, said Scholar. I, for one, would be fascinated to know what you think. Come on, new fish, Zebra said, his tone harsh and goading. What are you waiting for? Gretch got your tongue? Don't rush him, Bullivin said, more kindly. Like I say, I think he is still in shock. I'm sure he'll tell us in time. Faces expectant, the guardsmen fell quiet as they waited for Larn to answer. Uncomfortable, painfully aware of the 4 pairs of eyes staring at him in silence, for a moment, Larn could only sit there with his mouth open, the words dying on his tongue before he could even say them. Then, thinking about all he had seen and heard in the last few hours, in a voice thick with misery, he gave them the only answer he had. I don't understand any of this, he said at last. None of it. Nothing that has happened to me so far today seems to make any sense. What is there to understand, new fish? Devere had said. We are stuck in this damn city. We are surrounded by millions of orcs. Every day they try to kill us. We try not to let them succeed. End of story. A concise summary granted, Davir, Scholar had said next, though you omitted to mention the Prometheum and the stalemate, not to mention some of the wider parameters. Fine, Scholar, Davir had shrugged. I think you are wasting your time, but you tell him all about it then. While you're at it, might as well tell him how to go about brushing his teeth and wiping his backside. After all, I wouldn't like to see the consequences of the new fish here somehow got those 2 vital functions mixed up. Whatever you do, do it from the firing step. It is still your turn to stand watch, and remember, just because we have a nursemaid a war virgin, doesn't mean the orcs have forgotten they want to kill us. You see them? Scholar said a few minutes later, standing pointing into no man's land from the firing step next to Larn, while Devere and the others sat playing a card game on the trench floor below them. That dark, gray, ragged line about 800 meters away? That's the orc lines. Looking through the field glass a Scholar had lent him, Larn followed the direction of the tall man's pointing finger to stare into the wasteland before them. There, he saw it. A sinuous line of ditches that ran the entire length of the sector on the other side of no man's land. Watching it, from time to time he saw a Gretchen or orc head suddenly come into view, only for the head to then swiftly disappear as its owner dropped out of sight below the parapets on the orc side once more. I don't understand how I didn't see it before, Larn said. Having the field glasses helps, but it seems so clear now. How could I have missed it? It is a question of perception, Scholar said. You have noticed how gray the landscape is. The mud, the rocks, the sky, and even the buildings. When a person first arrives here, the details of the world about them can easily be lost in the same monotonous tone of gray. But there are subtle differences, Differences you become slowly aware of the longer you spend in the city. You have heard how some jungle worlders have 40 different words for green? In reality, of course, those 40 words correspond to different shades of green. Shades which would all look the same to us. But to them, their perceptions heightened by living their entire lives in a green environment, the difference between each shade is as obvious as the difference between black and white. It is the same here in Busurok. Believe me, you'll be amazed how acute you become to the palette of grays once you've been in this city a few months. Of course, he continued, delighted to finally have an audience willing to hear a lecture, normally, you wouldn't be able to miss the orcs' line if you tried. There'd be an array of makeshift walls, dirt ramparts, and boss poles stretching from one side of the sector to the other, or pieces of burnt-out vehicles and corpses used in place of sandbags. The details differ from sector to sector. Up to a month ago, we were stationed in Sector 111. There, the orcs used these large, jury-rigged barricades that they would just smash their way through whenever they attacked us. Then they would rebuild them, smashing their way through them again whenever there was a major assault, and so on. You see, the orcs don't follow a centralized command structure as we do. Granted, when their war bosses are not busy fighting it out amongst each other, they are usually united behind a single warlord. But when it comes to the disposition of any particular orc sector, the local war boss is free to do as he wants. As it happens, this particular boss seems to have taken a leaf out of our book, ordering his followers to dig camouflaged underground dugouts, foxholes, and trenches, rather than the usual ostentatious fortress. It could be that he is brighter than your usual orc leader. Then again, perhaps he is just aping our tactics without any kind of clear plan in mind. Really, it can be hard to tell with orcs. Even after 10 years here, I still find it difficult to tell the difference between a stupid orc and a clever one.
You have been here 10 years as well?
Lawrence said.
I could barely believe it when Rebsik said he had been here that long.
Yeah, we all have, Scholar said. Me, Tavir, Gulliver, Vladik, Jelkar, Svenk, Kel. All the men in the company have. The ones from Vardan, anyhow. Of course, there are plenty of replacements like you and Zebers who have been here for considerably less time.
Zebers isn't from Vardan?
Him? No, as I say. He is a replacement. Joined us about 2 months ago, give or take.
What about the rest of the regiment? Are there many replacements among them as well?
The rest? You misunderstand me, new fish, Scholar said sadly. Company Alpha is the Vardan 902nd. We're all that's left among the Vardans here. The others are dead.
You mean your regiment was wiped out?
Lard said, horrified.
Out of an entire regiment, only 200 men are still alive?
Worse than that, new fish. There were 3 Vardan regiments when we first set down in Busurok. But over time, we suffered heavy losses. We lost the Vardan 722nd in our first week here. Wiped out when General HQ ordered one of their now famous all-out assaults on the Orc lines. The survivors were amalgamated into the Vardan 831st, who in turn eventually became part of the 902nd. Then, over the years, there were more casualties, and the number of companies in the 902nd were reduced and amalgamated. Until now, only Company Alpha is left. At last count, I believe our current fighting strength is something in the order of 244 men, perhaps 3/4 of whom are from Vardan. Something like 180 or so Vardans left. Left from the more than 6,000 men who first made planetfall in the city 10 years ago. Really, it is not so different from the situation with your own former company. It is a matter of attrition, you see. It's the same for every other guard regiment in this city. Of course, having been on the front line so long, we've had it worse than most. I doubt there's a regiment left in the city that is at any more than 30% of its original strength. This is Brosarak. Here, Everything is a matter of attrition. But then, giving the name of the place, it is hardly surprising. The name? Larn asked, still stunned by the thought that the men he saw about him were all that was left from 6,000 guardsmen. Yes, a while back, we spent a month dug in at an old bombed-out building that turned out to be a storage facility for some of the city's oldest archives. I managed to read some of them before Tavir and the rest used them for toilet paper. In the days before it became a city, the name of this place was Butcher's Rock, or Butcher's Rock, in the local planetary dialect. Over time, as the city grew, its name was corrupted to the pronunciation we know now, Brosherok. As for the origin of the name, apparently the first settlement to be founded here served as a center for the planet's meat trade. Of course, it still does, in a matter of speaking. Still does? Larn said. I don't understand what you mean. He means that this whole damn city is one big meat grinder, new fish, Devere growled from the bottom of the trench, and we are the meat. You should tell the new fish about the Prometheum, Scholar, Bullivant said from beside him. It is better if he knows what we are fighting for. Yes, the Prometheum, Scholar said, taking the field glasses back from Larn and placing them in a case on his belt. That is what the battle here is about, more or less. Then, nodding towards Devere, he added, Of course, I'm sure if you asked Devere, he would tell you the war here is only about survival, which would be right as well, but you cannot understand the broader issues of strategy here without knowing something about the Prometheum. Strategy, my brawn Vardan arse, Devere said. What does strategy mean to us? You think a man cares about strategy when he feels an orc blade go through his belly? You and Bullivant are fooling yourself, Scholar. You think if it wasn't for the Prometheum, the orcs would just go away? If that were the case, I'd have found some way of giving it to them myself by now. Never mind all this fantasizing about killing generals. You make things so complicated, Scholar. The orcs want to kill us for one simple reason. They are orcs. That's all there is to it. Though, by all means, tell the new fish about your grand theories. I'm sure they'll come in very handy the next time the bullets start flying and he finds himself face to face with a horde of screaming greenskins. Though, from what I've seen already, you seem to be doing him more of a favor if you told him to tie a string around his belt and tie the other end to his lasgun so he doesn't lose it again. Grimacing in dismissive annoyance, Devere returned his attention to the card game, leaving Scholar to go on with his lecture. The Prometheum, new fish, Scholar said. That's why the orcs are here, and that's what makes the city important to both us and them. Remember, I told you this city started off as a center for the meat trade. Well, that was thousands of years ago. More recent times, Brucerok became a center for the planet's Prometheum industry. Time was when the city was little more than one giant refinery, where a crude Prometheum would be brought in from the drilling fields further south to be refined into fuel. Even though the pipelines that brought that crude here were cut long ago, the city is still rich in Prometheum, billions of barrels worth, stored in massive underground tanks underlying most of the city. But what do the orcs want with it? Larn asked him. Fuel, Scholar said. 10 years ago, just as we first made landfall here, it looked like the orcs were going to conquer this entire planet, until they started to run out of fuel for their armor. When that happened, they laid siege to Brosherok, hoping to seize the city's fuel reserves. But we managed to hold out, and without fuel, the orc assault elsewhere on the planet simply ground to a halt. Ever since, it has been a stalemate, with us trapped inside the city and the orcs outside it trying to get in. A stalemate that shows no sign of ending any time soon. But What about the Imperial forces in other parts of the planet? Larn said. Or even Imperial forces from off-world? Why haven't they tried to relieve the siege? For the Imperial forces elsewhere on this planet, it could be they have tried to relieve us, new fish, Scholar said. Certainly, if you ask General HQ, they would tell you the city is on the verge of being relieved. However, seeing as they have been saying the same thing for 10 years now, no one believes them anymore. You will find that here in Brosorock, our commanders tell us a lot of things. That we are winning the war, that the orcs are leaderless and on the verge of collapse, that the big breakthrough they've been promising us for the last 10 years is finally imminent. You'll find that after a while of hearing the same old things, day after day, you simply learn not to listen. For myself, I suspect that our brother guardsmen in other parts of this emperor-forsaken world are in no better shape than we are. Not that I can say definitely whether or not this is the case, you understand, given that the only part of this planet I've ever seen is Brosorock. As theories go, however, it seems no worse than any other. But, of course, that doesn't fully answer your question, Scholar said, fully lost now in the flow of his own erudition. As to why Imperial forces from off-world don't intervene, I suspect the war here is simply not important enough to justify a full-scale landing. From time to time, there are smaller, more isolated landings, by a lander, say, or a single dropship, but nothing that could be mistaken for anything even resembling a real attempt to break the siege. Sometimes, as in the case of you and your company, these landings turn out to be simple mistakes. Other times, it is as though some distant bureaucrat has finally decided to send us a few more troops or supplies in order to reassure us that we have not been forgotten. For the most part, these occasional drops are as pointless and ridiculous as every other aspect of life here in Brosorock. In the past, we have been sent entire pods full of supplies, only to find when we fight our way to them, the boxes inside the pods are full of the most useless things imaginable. Paper clips, mosquito netting, laxatives, bootlaces, and so on. Remember when they sent us an entire drop pod full of prophylactics? Devere said from nearby. I never could decide whether they wanted us to use them as barrage balloons or simply thought the orcs must have a fear of rubber. A good example of what I was talking about, Scholars said. But anyway, I think that pretty much covers everything for now, new fish. Do you have any questions? Never mind his questions, Zebra said, suddenly looking up from his cards to gaze at Larn with a sly, malignant smile. You did quite cover everything for the new fish, Scholar. There is still one thing you forgot to tell him. Forgot? Scholar said. Really? I don't think there was anything else of importance. Yes, there is, Zebra said, staring hard at Larn now with cold malice. You forgot to tell him why it was Devere said you'd be wasting your time telling the new fishy anything. Why, all the things you told him already are probably totally useless to him. Why, come tomorrow, there's likely only going to be 4 men in this trench, not 5. Oh, yes, I think you forgot to tell him something, Scholar. You forgot to tell him the single most important thing of them all. For a moment, Zebers paused, the silence growing tense and ugly as he stared at Larn, while the others shifted uneasily in their positions, as though suddenly uncomfortable. Then, the corners of his lips rising tightly in a gloating smile of victory, Zebers smirked at Larn and spoke once more. You forgot to tell him about the 15 hours. They were quiet at first. Scholar and Boulevard looked down at the ground in apparent embarrassment, while even Devere avoided Larn's eyes as though feeling the same vague sense of discomfort as the others. Only Zebers looked his way. Staring back at him, Larn found himself party to an unwelcome insight. Zebers hated him. Though why, or for what reason, he could not even begin to guess.
What is this 15 hours?
Lawrence said, at last to break the silence.
Rebzik said something about it just before the last attack, and Corporal Vladik mentioned it as well. He said he would issue me with more equipment if I came back to see him again in 15 hours' time.
Long moments passed, and no one answered. Instead, there was only more silence while Devere, Scholar, and Bulavin looked uneasily at one another, as though mentally drawing lots to decide which of them would perform an unwelcome duty. Until at length, still refusing to meet Lauren's eyes, Devere finally spoke.
Tell him, Scholar.
In response, Scholar fidgeted for a moment before, clearing his throat. He turned to face Lauren directly.
It is a matter of statistics, new fish.
Scholar said with a pained expression.
You must understand that in many ways every marshal and general at headquarters is as much a bureaucrat as the most pedantic scribe in the administratum. To them, war is not just a matter of blood and death, nor entirely a question of tactics and strategy. To them, it is as much as anything a matter of calculation. A calculation based on casualty reports, rates of attrition, and the number of units in the field, estimates of the enemy's strength, and so on. All the myriad facts and figures that, together, can be used to establish a mathematics of slaughter. Every day, from all over Brosorog, these figures are recorded, collated, and sent to General Headquarters for the bean counters there to work on them. As for this 15 hours that Zebers mentioned, it is one of the products of these daily calculations. You are overcomplicating things again, Scholar, Devere said. It does no good to sugar the pill for the new fish. He asked a direct question. You should answer him accordingly.
It is a matter of life expectancy, new fish, Scholar sighed. 15 hours is the average length of time a replacement guardsman survives in Brosorog after he has been posted to a combat unit at the front lines.
A replacement guardsman?
Lawrence said, still unsure whether he fully understood what Scholar had just told him.
Like me, you mean? Is that what you are telling me? That's how long you expect me to survive here? You think I'm going to be dead inside 15 hours?
Less than that, new fish, Zebers said, his tone smug and mocking.
You must have been here at least 3 hours by now, leaving you only 12 hours left, maybe less. Why do you think Vladik told you to return to him in 15 hours? He did want to risk wasting a lot of good equipment on a dead man.
Shut up, Zebers, Bulavin rumbled.
For a moment, Zebers glared back at him until, seeing the angry expression on the big man's face, he dropped his eyes to look down at the mud of the trench floor in sullen silence.
Tell him that isn't the way it is, Scholar, Bulavin began again, his expression softening, and his tone and his voice almost pleading. Explain it to him. Tell him that we have every faith he will still be alive tomorrow.
What? You think we should lie to him? Devere said to Bulavin. Zebers here may be an evil little shit with a big mouth, but at least he was telling the truth. You think we should treat the new fish like a child? Tell him everything will be all right? That his kindly old uncles, Devere, Scholar, and Bulavin will keep him safe from the mean and nasty orcs? Even after 10 years of your fat-headed stupidity, you never cease to amaze me, Bulavin.
It wouldn't be lying, Devere, Bulavin said sulkily. There is nothing wrong with giving a man some hope.
Hope my arse, Devere spat. I keep telling you, fat man. Hope is a bitch with bloody cause. You think after 10 years in this damned hellhole you would have learned that lesson by now at least.
All the same, Bulavin is not entirely wrong, Scholar said. turning towards the others to join the discussion. The new fish does indeed have some small cause for hope. True. General HQ may have calculated the life expectancy of a replacement to be 15 hours, but that is only an average figure. Perhaps the new fish will be more fortunate. He could survive longer. He has already beaten the odds once already by surviving that landing. But sometimes, Scholar, you can be as bad as Bullifin, De Beers said. But where he witters on about hope and optimism, you act like you are still in the Scholarium. You would do better to remind yourself that we are in the real world here. Your talk of odds and averages is all very well, but this is Brusharok. It doesn't matter that the new fish survived the landing, any more than it matters whether or not you and Bullivin try to coddle him. He is as good as a corpse already. A dead man walking. Trust me, the orcs will see to that. There's nothing they like better than a new fish, still wet behind the ears and ready for the gutting. All I'm saying is that we are perhaps being too literal-minded when it comes to talking about this figure 15 hours, Scholar said. All three of them so caught up in the heat of their argument now that they ignored Larn while he stood there listening to them. It is not an absolute figure. It is only an average. Why, for all we know, the new fish might end up surviving days, weeks, even years. Years? De Beers said. You know, you really are a wonder to me, Scholar. I've never seen a man talk so eloquently and at such length from his arse before. You think the new fish is going to manage to survive 10 years in this place? Next, you'll be telling me you expect Sector Command to make Bullivin a general. You obviously haven't seen the new fish in action. Stop it, Larn said quietly, no longer willing to be talked about as though he were invisible. I've heard enough. Stop calling me new fish. My name is Larn. For a moment, as though surprised by the interruption, the other men of the trench simply blinked and turned to look at him in silence. What? You don't like us calling you new fish, then? De Beers said after a time sarcastically. We have offended you, perhaps? Your feelings are hurt? No, said Larn uncertainly. You don't understand. I just think you should use my name is all. My real name, I mean, not Larn, not new fish. Really? De Beers said, gazing at him with cold eyes while Zebras glared at him in hostility, and Scholar and Bullivin looked at him in sadness. Then it is you who does not understand the facts of life here, new fish. You think I care what your name is? I have enough baggage in my head already. Never mind learning something that will likely be written on a grave marker before the day is out. You want me to remember your name? Tell me it again in 15 hours' time. By then, perhaps, it may just be worth knowing. That is the end of Chapter 8.
Awesome.
Meh.
Wow. Hello there, Tanya. And I see Wostein is here too.
Oh, Stein.
Affirmative.
Oh, hi, Tanya.
And I'm highly entertained by the 15-hour nonsense.
Yeah, I just popped in to see what was going on for a little bit during lunch break.
Hello.
Rygone is reading us a fantastic story.
Yeah, I heard. Oh, and tell Darius the stuff regarding tomorrow's game. I did DM you some stuff about it.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll take a look at that in a second then.
Wait, what about tomorrow's game?
We've been going over all
Well, it's-
the stuff in preparation to convert over to Pathfinder and for the upcoming scenes.
It's not technically for tomorrow. It's just for tomorrow's game, not literally happening tomorrow.
Oh. I'm like, you guys are
It's just
making plans for the game without me?
It's just
You've been streaming.
Nobody told me.
it's just some framework stuff regarding my character. and how to make the transition as smooth as possible.
Zim, you're getting an entire time slot dedicated just to actually making you.
Yay.
When? That's
I
what
I
I
mean, it
thought.
depends. When are you available?
I don't know. When am I available?
At all times. It's just a matter of asking and requesting the time slot.
Yeah, what Wostein said.
Okay, then.
It may be dedicated to the streaming and all, but when it all comes down to, they are still able to set aside time as needed.
I mean, he is right. I can do that. I just need to know when.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, it doesn't. So for you, I want to have like, you know, a decently large time slot to talk through everything. So I don't want to try and do it tomorrow because, you know, I don't know if you're gonna have some. Like, do you actually have something else you're doing tomorrow, like before session, or, you know, after?
As of right now, just so before, it might be Mage, though I don't know if Kerr's gonna be up for it. As
right.
for after, nothing comes to. I don't have any real plans. Probably was just gonna hang out with Rygone here, but I don't see why we couldn't.
Oh, in
work
that
on
case,
it
we could
during
have that.
Bethlehem.
Yeah, we could probably have that discussion then.
Yes. Yes, Endo.
You know, when achievement hunting, I'm just gonna say, the literal thing that I hate the most is time locked achievements. Like, I'm playing a game, I'm playing EU4, and the achievement I'm going for is Protect the Secret, where you have to start as Yemen, and then after starting as Yemen, you have to own all old world coffee provinces and ensure that no European country gets their hands on any coffee producing province until the year 1700. I've owned all coffee producing provinces since 1600, and I keep having to play and keep having to do things. I hate it.
No. Is this like game?
Yeah, it's EU4.
Oh. I'm sorry that you're having to play your game.
I know, right? I've only played it for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. The reason I said it so many times is because I have over 3,000 hours in it.
Aye. Pardon, I lack in the achievement hunter drive, but I can understand it. It's just I don't know what more to say. I don't have much to offer.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah, I'm only at 115 out of 345 achievements. But I've gotten like some of the really hard ones to get, like Basilius. That's a hard one to get. You have to start as the.
It could be
you
worse.
have to start as the Byzantine Empire. Yeah.
It could be like the Panley's terrible. The
Stanley
the
Parable go
Stanley
outside.
Parable, where you literally cannot open the game for like
But
6
generously
years.
stole.
Actually, I
Tanya
think it's like 10
Sapien tipped
years.
$14.56. So anyways, I started tipping.
No. You see, you just simply got to break into their headquarters, change the server times, start up your game, and boom, you have it.
Tanya, thank you very much for that tip.
My math was off. I thought it'd come out as 7%. I wanted to say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Well, I appreciate the donation. It definitely helps.
I may not have a whole lot these days, but I still try to contribute where I can.
I know, and I appreciate it.
Mhm.
All goes well, I'll be able to resume assistance again. But we'll see how that is when it is. Unfortunately, those delays are already arising, but oh well.
Duke, duke, doo doo duke.
Do-do-do-do.
Doo 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 duke.
I hope you all didn't find the scholar's voice too irritating. I didn't expect him to have so many lines.
No, I thought it was fitting.
I noticed that, yeah.
Nah. All of the voices that you have used so far have not been annoying in the slightest.
Okay, good.
Granted, you're also talking to the one who is usually accustomed to a wider range than most, so I'm not sure if it means anything. But in case it does.
What, like from watching streams or your job?
Oh no, I am just highly accustomed to a high tolerance for many things. However, at the very minimum, I can provide the assurance that it has not been annoying to me. It is good. You tell stories well.
Oh, thank you. Well, whenever people are ready, I can move on to the next chapter, or if we're done for tonight, I'll just, wander off.
I'm ready.
That was fast.
I'm ready, I suppose.
What about you, Darius? What are your thoughts?
Again, like, if you don't talk about that, I'm just going to talk about my game, so it doesn't matter.
Fair enough.
They're going to get bombarded one way or another, so, I mean...
If you don't give him something to do, if you don't give him something to do, he'll have to entertain himself, and no one wants that.
Yeah, obviously
Who
I'm
are you
not
talking
entertaining.
about?
I'm not entertaining.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm
But
sorry
you play
had
the
to find
AE
out
too?
this way.
Speaking of which, how have your streaming been going?
I haven't streamed recently because I haven't been playing any AoE 2 recently because I literally have not had time.
Oh, fair enough.
I have been very busy just doing other stuff that, like, I've wanted to, and then, like, I just can't.
I'm sorry that I am a chunk of that other stuff.
Oh, it happens.
I wasn't aware you two had that sort of relationship. I thought you were
It is
rather
not that type of
exclusive.
We do not have that type of relationship.
You're the one that... Mm-hmm. He said he was doing other things, and you said you were one of those other things.
You did in fact go, "Hi, I'm things."
What I was referring to is all of the stuff regarding the Sunday game. How every time that lore happens, I'm like, oh, but what if?
Oh, it's cute that you think that I haven't already made much more lore than the stuff that you go, ooh, but what if?
I like to think that I give you at least some ideas, though.
You do, but not nearly as much as the stuff that I, like, force upon myself.
You're forcing things upon yourself?
Yes.
Gibgav here says, story please, oh gosh, oh no. If Taldarius talks about EU4, I might be tempted to play it, and that's ungood.
Oh no, don't worry, I'm not talking about my EU4, I'm talking about something else. Although I currently am speed 5ing my EU4, because you know.
Oh, yeah, and
I do
Zim?
not know. Please enlighten. Yes, Tanya.
Zim, I actually do have a,
you don't
a
want
question before
you don't want to go down the EU4 rabbit hole. Yes.
I do have a question before I head off, because I got to get back to work. My lunch break's almost over. That secondary voice, how do you feel about me using that for spell casting and situationally specific stuff?
I mean, it's not my favorite thing, but it's fine, so.
I would say no.
If you only use it like specifically when spell casting, it's like it's okay, but like, you know.
Sorry, say that again. Zim, what'd you say?
I would say no.
Sorry, you broke up. What? What was that?
Negative.
It sounds like you're saying no, but you couldn't possibly be saying that.
That would be ridiculous.
There is always the possibility.
Proposition.
Why can't Tana use special voices?
Who the fuck is Tana?
I'm Tana.
You're Tanya.
I am the Tana.
Oh dear.
No.
The character is changing personality.
My name is Tana.
Okay.
I read Tanya. No voice change will convince me otherwise.
Anyways, I really do need to head back to work.
Acknowledged.
Okay, so
Let's go back to work.
would any voice work?
Your normal voice?
But why? If I'm casting spells, it needs to sound cool.
Okay, then do that with your own voice.
No. I have
Are
no
you of
vocal
one
range.
of those? Are you of one of those that only has magic because of like demons or such?
No.
Well, I mean, she is a servant of Hades.
Yes, but is that the source
But
of
the
the
answer
magic?
is no.
Okay.
Likely not.
Technically not yet.
And also,
Technically not
technically,
yet.
when she casts spells, she's casting them in Infernal, so...
Oh. I mean...
Are you a warlock? Do you have a sugar daddy?
Yeah, that's actually a complex and nuanced thing that is still undergoing negotiation.
No.
I'll get back to you on that. With the plot developments and the Pathfinder transition, that's still under negotiation.
Push this, Marten.
Hi, Kitsu. Tell Tanya
Hi.
no.
Hello, Kitsu.
I'm just letting you plan on streaming before it's in.
Wait a second, I
Not
need to
much
bump up
longer.
Kitsu.
Okay.
Kitsu is to the
Probably
max.
just one more chapter from Rygone, and then I'll be wrapping up.
See, Zim just doesn't want me to be able to have all of my mind control spells be prefaced with...
Would you kindly?
Oh no, that's absolutely hilarious. I'm just curious of what the cause of the voice would be.
Magic.
As long as
She's casting a spell. There will be magic imbued into the words. which will
Tanya,
make them
please
sound
stop.
otherworldly. Oh shit, happened back.
That was actually me fucking up. I forgot to click it back. Anyways. Alright, fine. Just for paying for voice mod, I want to actually use the features of voice mod.
You paid for it once. And you already use it for everything that you say.
Okay, actually, I have the subscription model because I couldn't afford the lifetime license.
A lifetime
Well, then-
license? I didn't even realize they had a subscription model.
Yeah, they do.
Everything has a subscription model now because they realized they could make infinite money instead of just one-time money.
Yep.
Like rent instead of owning homes and all that sort.
You'll own nothing and you'll be happy about it.
I
That's
got
bullshit.
voice
I
mod.
own things.
I got voice mod last year. Late
I really do
last
need
year.
to go now, though. I'll still be listening to the stream. I just have to drop out of voice.
Okay, bye. Why is this showing up as a different language?
Like, Face Rig, originally a one-time purchase, but the second they realized they could just have a subscription model, they completely took down Face Rig.
Yeah. I don't even remember.
Watching a 7900X go through Speed 5 EU4 is ridiculous. Wow.
But why were you asking about that, Kitsu?
I sent you a DM.
Oh.
Or PM, wherever you prefer.
Well, Rygone, shall we get started with the next chapter?
Yeah, we can if everyone's ready.
I'm
I
ready!
hate
Yeah, I'm
to
just speed
interrupt
fiving.
anything.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah,
ready.
all right.
I'm ready. I'm
Yeah.
ready.
Okay, I will get the next chapter up. And Doralis, oh, you're ready too. No, Doralis.
Anyway.
Instructions.
I
In
mean,
this
call real
program,
quick,
we help
Sim,
people.
but, yeah.
In this
Give me a poke
program,
whenever you're good.
Okay.
in this program, we help people with all their problems, not just their. Oh, that's the other set of papers. Give me a second. I'll turn back. Yeah, let me check. Oh, this is a pretty short chapter. Chapter 9, 1555 hours, Central Busharok time. A figure moving closer through no man's land. Standing watch with Bulavan. Matters of Gretchen and human marksmanship. A splash of color amidst the wasteland. Lessons on how best to act as bait. He had been moving slowly now for hours. Crawling on his belly, painted from head to hind claws in gray clay with a long custom barrel of his blaster wrapped in layers of gray sacking, he crept forward a centimeter at a time through the frozen mud of what the Humies called no man's land. Slow, like a slaver hunting a squig with a grab-a-stick. He moved an inch and then waited. He moved an inch and then waited. He moved an inch then and waited. Over and over again. Always careful in case his prey was watching. Suddenly, seeing a glint in the distance ahead of him, he stopped. Sure one of the Humies' spotters must have seen him. He tensed, expecting at any moment to feel the pain from a last beam, or to hear the sound of a shot. But neither of them came. He remained motionless, until, as the minutes passed and he became convinced he was none the worse for wear, his journey began again. Moving slowly,
inch by inch, across the frozen mud towards his destination. Finally, perhaps halfway across no man's land, he reached the lip of a shallow shell crater. For a moment he looked at it. Then, responding to some inner instinct he could have never named, he crawled inside. Out of sight now, he moved more quickly, crawling up the opposite slope of the crater to look through the sights of his blaster in search of a target. At first, nothing. Then he saw a head in a fur-shrouded helmet peeking out of a hole in the ground some way away, and knew his instinct had been right. He had found his kill. Breathing through his nose, careful not to make any sudden moves that might spook his prey, he aimed at it through the sights, his fingers tightening incrementally on the blaster's trigger. As he did, he felt a warm sensation rush through his head as something like a clear and coherent thought occurred to him. If he made this shot, the boss would be pleased.
You shouldn't take too much to heart what the Beavers said before, new fish,
Willivin said.
He don't mean anything by it. It is just his way is all.
Willivin was standing on watch on the firing step, looking out into no man's land with Larn beside him. Meanwhile, in the firing trench below them, the other men were mostly quiet, wrapped in an extra greatcoat in place of a blanket, his muffler pulled forward to cover most of his face. Devere lay dozing with his back against some spare flammer canisters. Beside him, Scholar sat silently, reading from the tattered pages of a battered and obviously well-used book. Only Zebers was making anything much in the way of noise. Sitting on the trench floor, he could be seen sharpening the blade of his entrenching tool with a whetstone. The low, scraping sound of the stone running over the metal added a malicious counterpoint to the occasional hostile glances he periodically made in Larn's direction.
Yes, that is a good trick, new fish,
Willivin said, noticing that Larn was looking at Zebers.
If you sharpen the blade of your entrenching tool, it makes a good weapon if you find yourself in hand-to-hand with an orc. Better than a bayonet, anyway. Of course, you need to be careful you don't sharpen the edges of the spade head too fine. Otherwise, you could split if you actually have to dig the earth with it.
Does it happen a lot? Larn asked him, giving an involuntary shiver as he remembered his earlier encounter with the Gretchen. Going hand-to-hand with the orcs, I mean.
Not so much if we can help it,
Willivin said, tapping the imposing bulk of the heavy flamer by his side.
For myself, when it comes to killing orcs, I prefer to use my friend here. Sometimes, though, the orcs get in close and it cannot be helped. Then you just have to kill them with lap pistols, knives, spade heads, whatever comes to hand. But you don't need to worry too much about that, new fish. Stay close to me, Scholar, and Devere, and you'll be all right.
You will forgive me, Bolivin, Larn said to the big man. But it didn't sound too much like that when you were talking before.
Ugh, I told you. You shouldn't worry about that new fish,
Willivin said.
As I say, Devere didn't mean too much by it. It is simply his manner to sound off from time to time, and you just happen to get in his way. Personally, I think it is because he is a short-ass. He likes to talk a lot to make himself seem important. Trust me, you should just put it from your mind as though it never happened.
And the 15 hours? Larn said quietly. What about that? In reply, Bolivin fell silent for a moment, his broad and kindly features abruptly given over to an almost pensive brooding, until at length he spoke once more.
Sometimes it is better not to think too much on such things, new fish,
he sighed.
Sometimes it is better just to have faith.
Faith? Larn asked. You mean in the Emperor?
Yes, no, perhaps,
Bolivin said,
his words growing as slow and thoughtful as his expression.
I don't know, new fish. I used to believe in so many things back when I first became a guardsman. I believed in the generals. I believed in the commissars. Most of all, I believed in the Emperor. Now, I certainly don't believe in the first two anymore. As for the Emperor, sometimes it is hard to see his grace among all this carnage. But a man must have faith in something, and so yes, I still believe in the Emperor. I believe in him, and I believe in Sergeant Shelka. Those are the two articles of my faith, such as they are. But there is something else, new fish, he continued. Something just as important as faith. Hope. Tavira is wrong about that, you see. A man must have hope, or he might as well not be alive. It is as important as the air we breathe. So, no matter how bad things get, new fish, no matter how bleak they seem, you must remember not to give up hope. Trust me, if you can hold on to your hope, everything will be all right.
With that, Bullivin fell silent again, and Lauren found himself remembering his talk with his father in the farmhouse cellar on his last night at home. Trust to the Emperor, his father had told him then, and now Bullivin had told him to trust to hope. Though in his heart he knew them both to be good pieces of advice, as he looked out at the desolate and foreboding landscape around him, they seemed of little comfort. A single shot rang out, the sound of it unnaturally loud after the silence. Acting on reflex, Larn jumped back from the firing step in search of cover, only to fall backwards into the trench to land on top of Devere, causing the stocky runt to awaken in a flurry of profanities. "Marshal Catchin's bloody arse!" Devere cursed as he pushed Larn away. "Can't a man get any sleep around here without some idiot jumping on top of him with two boots first? What, you have mistaken me for your mother, new fish, and you wanted a cuddle? Get the hell off me!"
There was a shot, Devere,
Bullivin said, still standing on the firing step, head crouched to peer cautiously over the trench parapet.
From out in no man's land. A sniper, I think. That is what the new fish was reacting to.
He could react to it all he wants, so long as he doesn't keep leaping on me, Devere said, grabbing his las gun and stepping up to the firing step beside Bullivin to gaze wolfishly into no man's land. "So, a sniper, eh? Scholar, hand me your field glasses, and we will see if we can find him." Soon, Scholar and Zebers had joined Devere and Bullivin on the firing step. Then, handing the field glasses to Devere, Scholar turned to look over his shoulder at Larn, standing at the bottom of the trench behind him. "You should come up and see this new fish," Scholar said. "It is important you learn how to deal with a sniper." Taking his place on the step next to Scholar, Larn watched as the other man stared intently into no man's land, scanning for anything out of place, until, indicating a shell crater perhaps 300 meters away from their trench, Devere's wolfish smiler became a broad grin of delight. "There," he said. "I see him. Keep your heads down. The little gretch bastard is already looking for his next shot. He's not the brightest of sparks, however. He may have painted himself gray to blend in with the mud, but apparently nobody told him a sniper's not supposed to fire twice from the same position." As though in response, another shot rang out, raising a clod of earth as the bullet struck the ground 3 meters to the left of the trench. "He's not much of a shot either," Devere said, handing the field glasses to Bullivin beside him. "Really, I think we should consider sending a letter of complaint to the orcs about the quality of the Gretchen they chose for sniper duty. This one's so poor a marksman, killing him almost seems a waste of a last blast." "He's another one of the hazards here, new fish," Scholar said to Larn.
Every now and again, the orcs will equip a particularly level-headed Gretchen with a long rifle and send him out into no man's land to act as a sniper. Of course, Gretchen are hardly renowned for their marksmanship, so mostly they are just a nuisance. But we have to take them out all the same, which unfortunately means that one of us here will have to act as bait. I vote for the new fish, Zebra said, sneering at him. He is expendable after all, and you never know when a Gretchen might get lucky. Very kind of you to volunteer him, Devere said, his last gun at his shoulder as he sighted in on the shell grater. Especially since, if memory serves, it is actually your turn to act as sniper bait. Now shut your stink hole and get out there, and make sure you give the Gretch plenty of opportunity to shoot at you. I want a clear view of him so I can be sure of a clean kill. Muttering darkly under his breath, Zebers grabbed his las gun and put his hands on top of the trench wall to the side of him. Then, giving Larn a last poisonous glare, he pulled himself up out of the trench and jumped into the open. The moment his feet hit the ground, he was off and running, zigzagging with his body half crouched as he sprinted across open ground to the next nearest firing trench and threw himself inside to safety. No, said Devere, still peering through his sights towards the shell crater. He is still in cover. Maybe our friend is smarter than we think. Or perhaps he simply finds zebras to be a rather scrawny and uninspiring target. Either way, I haven't got a shot yet. Again, zebras! Scholar yelled, waving towards the next trench. Discontent clearly visible on every line of his face even from a distance, Zebers leapt from the trench again and ran zigzag once more towards the next trench in line.
He's moving,
Bullivin said, gazing through the field glasses towards the crater.
Looks like he's taking the bait.
Quiet, Devere hissed. You're putting me off. Then, exhaling slowly, he pulled the trigger, producing a single sharp crack as the last gun fired.
You got him,
Bullivin said, passing the field glasses to Larn with a smile of exultation.
Look, new fish, you see that? He got him.
Of course I got him, Devere said. Then, as he clicked the firing control switch on his last gun to save, the wolfish smile returned. No, it was a remarkably fine shot, even if I do say so myself. Gazing through the field glasses, Larn looked towards the shell crater, at first unable to distinguish any sight of the Gretchen in the gray landscape. Then he saw it. A small red stain lying across a gray rock at the lip of the crater. Abruptly, adjusting the magnification of the field glasses to take a closer look, Larn realized he had been mistaken. What he thought was a rock was in fact the Gretchen's head, the red stain being the contents of the creature's brains as they oozed through the hole in its ruptured skull and dribbled towards the ground. The creature was dead, the only sign of its passing a smear of red across against the all-encompassing grayness of the world around it, a bright splash of color in the mist of a wasteland.
Did you see how Zebers did it, Doofus?
Bullivin asked him.
Did you see how he kept crouched and ran zigzag from one trench to the next, so he wouldn't give the Gretch too much of a target?
Yes, I saw it, Larn said, sensing some unwelcome portent in the concern evident in the big man's manner. It was almost as though Bullivin was warning him about something. But why do you ask? How do you think, new fish? Devere grunted. Because now Zebras has been kind enough to show you how it is done. Next time we have a sniper, it is your turn to act as bait. That is the end of Chapter 9.
How long's the next one?
Number 10 looks like it's a long one. Then we hit an interlude. Like, let's see. We go from page... Yeah. We go about 8 pages on the next one.
I should be heading off, but I just enjoyed the story time with Rygone so much.
I'm glad you do.
It was very good.
Well, thank you.
That's
Bullivan's
great.
voice is incredibly hard to do. Because his is one that you have to do that like super low, but at the same time,
Yeah,
like
you have to get like the really deep chest voice.
yeah, like his is super hard to do, and I know I'm not pulling it off correctly, so I'm trying to mask it with some cheeks, with some like air in the cheeks, but it's still not quite doing it.
I think it's good.
Well, if it means anything,
I don't know.
I'm not
It might
picking
just
up
be a
anything.
DM power to realize when it's not going too good. Who knows?
Well, it's just not quite hitting that ting that I like when I do my voices. Scholars, I think, is
Yeah,
fine.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know
Scholars is fine, Devere is fine, Zebers is getting there, but Bullivan, his is just difficult. Like, I can do a low voice, but to do a unique low voice, that's another thing. Oh, thank you, Enderalis. I appreciate it. You weren't sure if you were trying to make him Russian? If I was trying to make him Russian, I would probably speak more like this. Or
To be
something
fair,
of
that sounds
sort.
like you're trying to do like a Transylvanian Wallachian.
Yeah.
But they're remarkably they are like on the same side of the world almost. They have similar. They have
Well,
some
yeah, but
similar
it's
structure.
a different. It's a different thing though. You know.
Oh, that's fine. I'll have to practice my Russian then.
Speaking as someone who do a Russian accent often, is insult.
But yeah, no, I'm not trying to do any particular accents with any of them because, quite frankly, none of them have a particular accent that can be pulled from. They're not from Russia. They're not from Germany. They're not from anywhere. They might have some kind of an accent, but they won't have any kind of like normal accent
Just
that
so you
we
know,
know.
in 40k, they would actually.
Well, yeah, I expect them to have accents, but they're not going to be quite Russian. They're not going to be quite German, etc., etc. They've had thousands of years of dialect evolution.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but the Vostroyans are very Russian.
Fair enough.
Like just as like even an example, like the Vostroyans would absolutely have Russian accents. I think like in lore too.
Great, and there's a Vostroyan book too. That means I would have to practice my Russian accent for it. And it would be like 3 different layers of Russian accent, light, medium, and low. And that's all your characters right there.
I mean, that just sounds like exactly what you want for practicing your voice acting.
And that's fair.
I need to practice my voice acting. I haven't done it in a while.
Honestly, I highly recommend just picking up a book and reading through a chapter. It'll give you the practice you need.
Reads through Inquisitor, refuses to elaborate.
Tentacles. Tentacles.
No, you don't understand. Like that's literally like not even the worst part.
Oh, I believe you. I believe you.
Like I cannot espouse to you like how awful it truly is unless I like sat there and read it out for you. Like, oh my god.
All right. Well, this is where I am going to call my stream.
Sounds good.
And so we'll pick up with chapter 10 next time.
Yeah, we can do chapter 10 next time. What we can even do is we could probably finish off the rest of the novel when you come to Zim and we get ready. Now that I've kind of gotten into the swing of the MHEs, I expect the next one will probably take a lot less time to finish up. And if I can finish up at least 2 tomorrow, I should be in a good position to say, yes, I am doing my job.
Well, tomorrow is my early start with 2 tabletop games.
Oh, I'm sorry for the cancellations.
Including mine.
But
But mine's in there, Rygone. But Rygone, mine's in there.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Taldarius. I just don't think I'm
Rygone, how could you?
up for it.
Sorry, it's a Rygonian
Rygone,
sickness.
how could you do this to me? How could you do this to me, Rygone?
It's okay. I'm sorry. To be fair though, with Zim, with you, the pain in your leg though, it really wouldn't surprise me if you needed to like take care of that.
Oh yeah, like
I am
if you're having troubles with
debating
that.
your game. I think I'll be good for Taldarius. It's the getting up for mage that I am unsure of.
Sam, if you get to sleep now in a timely fashion and you get up nice and early tomorrow, I will delete the spellcasting voice and never ask to do any stuff like that again.
Or I can just say, if you try to use it, I will ban you.
That seems a little excessive.
Dropping the hammer, Zim.
Well, no, see, try to use that one, but I could just try using lesser versions. You know, frog in boiling water.
To be fair, that is you know that isn't an actual thing.
What?
You know as well as I do that the whole frog in the boiling water. Yeah, if you put anything lobotomized in a pot of boiling water, they won't move.
That's how I feel whenever I go into the shower.
I just don't know when I will actually be able to get to sleep.
Understandable. I wish you the best on it, though.
Evolution, Rosalia/Tanya is currently at work. Let me go ahead and wrap up this recording, though. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for Timberborn, along with Rygone sharing a wonderful reading with us. Check out our website, zgfgaming.com. We've got links for our Discord, Telegram, Twitter, Patreon, and more. There on the website, as well as down in the description below through our link tree. Thank you to my patrons, donators, and subscribers. It is because of your support that I'm able to continue bringing these streams to you all. I really cannot do this without your guys' help and support, so thank you. Consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/zgfgaming. It is one of the best ways to support the channel, though you can also do so by simply sharing the stream around. But for now, thank you all so much for joining, and I bid you the most fondest adieu.